guys, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Start by Taiwo, and to all our returning subscribers, thank you for staying with us. So in this video, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful blouse, and if this is what you would like, do have to continue watching, and also do not forget to like, also subscribe, and drop a beautiful comment. So let's get started. So right here, I'm gonna head to draft out my vertical measurement, and for the width, I'll explain how I went about for the width. So for the width, we'll be working with our highest measurement, and the measurement we have is our shoulder length. So whatever you have for your shoulder length, you're going to go ahead to add 10 to 11 inches to it. So probably if your shoulder length happens to be 7 inches, you add 10 inches to it. That's going to be 17 inches, and that's how you're going to go about for the width of this. And for our length, you would want, because this pattern we have here is our front, so you want to go ahead to mark out, probably add 5 inches to your hip line, so probably 29 inches, and go ahead to cut out for the length. So that's how we're going to go ahead for the front. And then I added about 2 inches for our button. So I'll go ahead to mark out 3 inches for my neck width and mark out my shoulder length. And for my shoulder length, I'll go ahead to mark 9 inches out. I also want to come down by 2 inches and connect this, which is going to act as our shoulder slant, and connect to our neck width. So after which, now I'm going to go ahead to come down from there by 9.5 inches, and I want to go ahead to mark out on my bust point, my bust round divided by 4, and I'm going to add 2.5 inches to it. And this is my half length. I'm marking out my waist round divided by 4, adding 2 extra inches, and also repeating same for the hip line. My hip round divided by 4, adding 2 extra inches, and I've gone ahead right now to connect the lines together. So what I want to do now is that from there, the 9 inches which I marked down, I'm going to go ahead to connect it down, and we want to connect it. So before connecting it, I'm going to come out by 1 inches here and go ahead to use my pattern ruler to connect it like this. And the reason why I'm doing this, so that it can sit well. So after doing that, from that part where I connected, I just want to go ahead to connect to my pattern. So that is that. And the next thing I want to do now is my neck depth for the front. So I was working with 9.5 inches, but I'll advise you work with 8 inches or 8.5, because I also went ahead to adjust mine after everything because it came down much. So after marking your neck depth, you want to go ahead to connect with your pattern ruler, and you want to do it to connect to the extra 2 inches we have out, and the extra 2 inches we have for our button. So I've gone ahead to connect that just as you've seen me do. And I think here my spirit was kind of leading me to probably adjust it. I don't know why I did on this thing. So I don't know. I was trying to like see if I could. So, but just go ahead to mark out your neck depth of 8 inches or 8.5, and go ahead to connect it out. To mark out 22 inches down, and also go ahead to mark out on my side, and also go ahead to mark out 27 inches down. And this is going to be for, and I'm going on to go ahead to slant it. So the reason why I'm doing this is because our front part, like side, is not going to be straight, like it's a bit slanted. So I'm just going to go ahead, use my pattern ruler to connect this just as you've seen me do. And the next thing I want to do now is from the middle point, I want to go ahead to go in. So to go in by 2.5 inches, and I'm also going to go ahead to come up by 5 inches. And what I want to do now is to connect the lines together with my pattern ruler. So this is going to be like our front, the middle point there is a bit open. So this is what we're going to do for it. So I had a written to come up more by 3 inches, so which is going to make it 8 inches in total. And after, because I felt like what I had before, the 5 inches was going to be small. So I came up by 3 inches to make me 8 inches, and I went ahead to connect. So please just were to follow as I did. So at this point, I'll say we are done with the front part. So before cutting out, let's move on to the back. So this is my back, and this is what we have here. Second measurement which we have for the front is the same thing we're going to be using here, and we're going to be marking down to just our hip line. We're not going to extend more, just as we did for the front. So the next thing I want to do, we're repeating the same process which we did. We'll go ahead to mark. I marked out my chest line, and I went ahead same thing to mark out 9 inches from the chest, from the shoulder length, and I'm going to go ahead to come down by 2 inches and connect with my pattern ruler. So I did a mistake here connecting to the chest line. I was supposed to connect to the neck, and so I was supposed to connect to the neck width. So I'm going to go ahead also to come down by 9 inches here. So just go ahead to repeat same process we did in the front here. So I felt there will be no need of explaining all of that since we've done that in the front, and I just want to go ahead put this part on speed while we move on to the part which is unique for the back. So right here, the next thing, I'm done with that, and the next thing I noticed at this point that I connected just to the shoulder length. So I went ahead to mark out my neck width of 3 inches, and I also went ahead to come down. So I'm going to go ahead now to come down by 1.5 inches for my back edge, and I'll use my pattern ruler, place it just as you see, and connect it. So after which then I want to go ahead to correct my shoulder slant for the back. So I use my ruler to connect that. So at this point the back is ready. So the next thing I want to do now is to go to the base. So if you remember, for the front length we did 22 inches, and I also want to go ahead to mark that 22 inches down here and also connect that to my hip line. So the actual full length we have here is 24 inches, which is our hip line, and I'm going to go ahead mark out my 22 inches and connect it to the 24 inches of our hip line, and that is that for the back. So I just want to go ahead now to cut out both our front and our back pattern. So this is what we have for the back. So now I've proceeded to get out my front pattern, and I'll go ahead to cut it out, and I'm going to go ahead to also use this front to cut out the back. So I just want to go ahead to fold the bottom part in, and after folding this part in, would like to go ahead and place it on the back so that I can place everything well on the back, and after doing that, place it and go ahead to use what I have to cut out my back pattern. So just watch as I place this on the back, and I'll just, after placing it, I'll hold it firm and go ahead to cut out to my back pattern. And also, the reason why this thing was actually necessary here is that if you check our cut together, the part where I slanted, it's actually not looking aligned with both the front and the back. So I think placing the front just like this is going to help it stay aligned, like for the front and the back to be aligned and the pattern to look same. So you just want to go ahead now and cut out. So the part which we're going to just be cutting out is just the side, and after the side, after cutting out for the side, I'll just want to go ahead, remove my back pattern and cut out my neck for the back, and also go ahead to cut out the hem part of the back. So after this now, what we'll be going next to now is going to cut to fabric, and I want to go ahead to cut out for both my lining and my material. So you might choose not to use a lining for yours. You might just want to go ahead to hem round and use your hemming gun, but I'll be using a lining for mine. And right here, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to cut out for my back, front and everything, and I added 1/2 inches round for sewing allowance. So what I want to do now after this now is that I want to go ahead to turn over. So I'll just want to show you how you go ahead to place it. So just as you see my front here, I'll go ahead now, place it just like this and sew this part. Ensure to follow how the hem are. So every part which I have showed you here, the only part which we're not going to sew is this part where I'm touching. I'll repeat that for both the front and for both sides of the front. And for the back, I also want to go ahead, place my lining on it just like this, sew the next side, sew the sides, sew everywhere, and also go ahead to sew the hem round, and the only part where we're going to leave is this part. So I'll just want to go ahead to my sewing machine and do that. So right here, I've gone ahead to do that, and the next thing, I've gone ahead to also sew round and turn over, and I've gone ahead to press. So the next thing is that you want to be joining the sides together. So if you're not going to be using belt, you would want to go ahead to sew the shoulder lengths together and sew the sides together, and repeat this for the other side. Also place it just like this and sew the shoulder length, and also want to go ahead to sew the side. So if you're sewing this to your shoulder length like this, know that after sewing you want to go ahead to search for knits. So for knit finishing, and so after this now, if you're going to be putting belt, the next part I'm going to be showing how we're going to go about for the belt. So this is what I have. I've gone ahead to cut out about 30 inches long, and for the belt width I have about 4 inches. So what I want to do now, I want to go ahead to fold it. So I have about 4 inches for the belt width. So I want to go ahead to fold this into 2 and sew round. So I'll just sew from the top to the down, and after doing that, I'm going to leave the down part, which I'm going to use to turn over. So So right here, I'm done with that, and I just want to go ahead to trim every excesses I have, and also go ahead to turn over. So after turning over, right now, you just want to go to your iron and press it so that it can lay flat before sewing to your fabric, your dress. So right here, before ironing, I just want to show you how to go about placing it. So I'll just first and foremost, I want to go ahead to measure 14 inches down. Go ahead to mark it down, and before placing my belt, I want to go ahead to fold it just as you see me do. So before then, I just wanted to trace cut out because that part was disturbing a bit, and I'll go ahead to fold it. I know my hand was not showing, but just go ahead to fold it in, place it on the 14 inches, and you want to use your office pin to hold it down and go ahead to sew, and you repeat the same process for the front. So at this point, I'll say we are done with the top after joining our side and also the belt. So for the buttonhole, you want to go ahead to mark out and do your buttonhole. So for me, I do not have a buttonhole machine, but I was able to do mine from a nearby shop, and also for my cover button. So thank you for staying with us to this point. And also do not forget to like, subscribe. Thank you.